Gomer. One of Japheth's important sons from Jovan is Gomer, who also has 3 sons of his own. This immediately tells us that the land of Gomer is one of significance. Regarding the identification of the location of Homer's land, there are no obstacles or disagreements. It is Phrygia. The name Phrygia, or more precisely Fuja, is a small Asian form of the name Brugia, the land of the Brugian tribe after which it got its name. It seems that the first ruler in this Anatolian land was from the Brugian tribe, and the name of this tribe was given to the new kingdom. Regarding the origin of this name and how it underwent a change, we can rely on Herodotus. The Phrygians, the Macedonians say, were called Brygians, Brugi, as long as they lived in Europe, while they were together with the Macedonians. When they crossed into Asia, with the change of the land, they also changed their name to Phrygians. Herodotus, 39. 7.73, Herodotus further confirms that the Phrygians were the Macedonian Brygians. According to Herodotus, the name change was from Brygians to Phrygians, or more precisely, from Brugi to Frugi. The dual nature of this name, initially Brugi and later Brygii, is also emphasized by Milan Budimir. 73. Hence, the dual form of this name in Anatolia, as Phrygians and Frisians, influenced by the Greek language form Phrygia and Prysians, took over. In Izarod, Phrygia is called Gomer, and the explanation for this can be found in Assyrian records. Rogozin states, Assyrian records mention the people, Himera, which are the Sumerians, or Jewish Gomer. Assyrian king Esarhaddon, 681 to 669 BCE, notes that he repelled an attack and defeated Tayuspa Himera, who perished in battle, and his entire army was destroyed by the sword. The likely location of this battle was north of Cilicia. Gumira is the Assyrian name for wandering people, usually referred to as Sumerians, and this people, like the Medes, belongs to a different race from those we have been discussing. It is the race of people to which we ourselves belong, says Rogozin. 14th century, page 337, Rogozin here refers to the Aryan race. It is undeniable that the Jewish name for Phrygia, Gomer, originated from the Assyrian, Gumira, and all biblical scholars agree on this. The presence of the Sumerians in Phrygia, usually thought to have come as conquerors from the northern shores of the Black Sea, supports this. Regarding this, Rogozin says, it is highly unreliable that the Jews had any knowledge of the Sumerians above the Black Sea. Later research shows that when they speak of Gomer and his sons, they in that case refer to the Thracian Phrygian people from the region south of the Black Sea, to which these Sumerians also belong, who came as conquerors. Around 730 BCE, the Sumerians devastated the Greek settlement Sinop, established shortly before in the land later known as Paphlagonia. Tushpa was defeated by Esarhaddon somewhere in Cappadocia. 14th century, page 339. All of this leads us to the conclusion that Tushpa was defeated somewhere on the eastern border of Phrygia. The earliest mention of Phrygia dates back to the time of Sarban's campaign. According to Eusebius, Tantalus ruled over Phrygia, previously called Meonia, around 1350 BCE. 3rd century, page 391, after Tantalus, the rule of the Meda and Gordias dynasties began. Their reign lasted for more than 6 centuries, and during that time, Phrygia was a dominant state in Asia Minor. Phrygia inherited the Hittite Empire as a state. In the 9th century BCE, Phrygia held hegemony over the Aegean and the Black Sea. By that time, at the latest, the Phrygians had access to the northern shores of the Black Sea. About Armenia, Herodotus says that it was a Phrygian settlement. If this was the case with Armenia, then there is no reason to doubt that the Phrygians also had settlements on the northern shores of the Black Sea, where the Sumerians appeared. The first mention of the Sumerians is found in Eusebius, who states that the Amazons and Sumerians invaded Asia in 1076 BCE, referring to Asia Minor. 3rd century, page 418, Herodotus mentions that the homeland of the Sumerians was along the Dniester River. 39. IV.11. He then says that the Sumerians came along the shores of the Black Sea and settled in the region of Sinop. The Sumerians are frequently mentioned in Asia Minor in later times. All of this clearly indicates that the Sumerians were present in Phrygia at various times. Despite this, there is no evidence that 2 different nations existed in Phrygia. This means that the Sumerians and Phrygians were the same people with 2 different names or, at the very least, 2 closely related and almost identical nations. The region along the Dniester River, where Herodotus places the homeland of the Cimmerians, was inhabited by the Serbs during the migration, if not earlier. The name of the Cimmerian leader defeated by King Esarhaddon, Tayuspa or Tuspa, originated from the name of the Serbian god Tuda. Haralbo mentions that the Assyrians called the Cimmerians Gimir, and the Greeks called them Cimmerians. Their name survived in the Crimea, where their oldest settlement was. From them, the Cimbri, who fought against the Romans, and the Cymri, ancestors of the Welsh and Irish, emerged. The Celtic race, to which the Frutians, French, belong, originates from this family. Some believe that the Cimmerians migrated across Europe from 2200 to 1500 BCE. Welsh asserts. The ancient inhabitants of these islands, the Britons, were also descendants of the Cimmerians. There is no doubt about it. 31st century, page 55. The Welsh are still called Kumero, Cymro, Kumeri today, and their language is called Kumarag. 31st century, page 55. Jutland was known in ancient writings only by the name Cimbrica Chersonosos. 31st century, page 54. Roger de Belloque concludes. Finding in the name Cymru, Cymri, the characteristic of the Welsh, undisputed remains of the Celtic population of Britain, a name close to Cimbros, scientists had no difficulty accepting that the Celts of Albion and Gaul Belgae, whose settlements were actually one and the same people as the Cimbri, and consequently, descendants of the Cimmerians expelled by the Scythians. In describing Marius and his deeds, Plutarch says that the Cimmerians reached the shores of the Baltic and from there invaded Gaul. Child says, the Cimmerians are Aryans related to the Thracians. 60th century, page 196. According to Keokuk, this view is found. The Cimbri and all forms of this name, appearing in the Middle East and on the eastern Hellespont Peninsula, in the area between the lower Danube and Dniester, are actually the Cimbri, Imbros from Cimbros, are related to the root of the word. Cibar, Pan-Slavic. Sim, E-R-O, from which the name of the Greek Hermes arose. 129th century, page 78. Stephanus of Byzantium says that Hermes' ritual name was Imbros. Point 4. Vutimir connected this with the Old Serbian, Simbra, meaning ally, friend. In modern Greek, it is Sembros, and in Arabic, it is Sember. In the case mentioned by Keokuk, Imbros equals Simbros, we have one more piece of evidence about the omission of the initial syllable, Sima, in names of Serbian origin. There are many more examples like this. The Cimmerians were Thracians, or as Strabo says, Cimmerians also called Thracians. Thracians are a Cimmerian people. Thracians are Thracians. 132nd century, page 151, during the reign of King Sitalches, around 429 BCE. The neighbors of the Tribali, who were on the border between the Danube and the Homolia, were the Thracians. 132nd century, page 152, in Strabo's explanation, Gosselin says that the Cimbri lived on Chersonese Cimbrique, today's Denmark. The Teutons are part of the Cimbri. 86. 2.65. Strabo says that the Greeks called the Cimbri Cimmerians. 86. 3.17. He then says that Cimbrian women followed their husbands in battles, striking the cauldrons attached to wagons during the fight and thus creating a terrifying noise. 86. 3.19. It is well known that Serbian women followed their husbands on military campaigns. Josephus Flavius calls the Gauls Gomerites, Herodotus mentions the Cimmerian people, and Pliny mentions the city of Cimmerius, in Troy. 31st century, page 49, according to Ben Gurion, a Jewish scholar, the Franks are Cimbri. 2. IKIV. Ix, from the Franks, and at least by name, the Serbs called them Frusi, which literally means Frisians. There was no different name for the Franks in the Serbian language. The people, Frusi, and the region, Fruška, are Serbian names for the Franks and Franconia, as well as for the French. For France, the Serbian name is Rodania. The names, French, and France, are German names that have been imported here. Serbs do not have French Hill, but have Frisian Hill. During the time of the Nemanjić dynasty, there was no other name for the French except Frusi. This Serbian name for the Franks aligns completely with Ben-Gurion's testimony. Among the Franks themselves, there was a belief, and they widely expressed it, that they originated from the Trojans. They named one of their cities in Rodania, Troia, and that city still bears that name today. In support of their statements, it can be noted that some of the earliest known Frankish rulers had Serbian names. Joseph Mead says that the Greeks called the Gauls Galatae, and Celts, and the Greek Celts is the same as the Cimbri, who are called Cumra in Britain. Diodorus says that the Germans originated from the Cimmerians, and the Jews call them Ashkenazim. The name Homer is contained in the name Cimbri, and they themselves are called Germans, meaning Homerans. From Gemrin, or German, the Latins made Germania. N is the Germanic ending for plurality, and it is easy to turn Homer into Gemrin, just as from brother comes brethren. Edward Wells expands on the exposition of his predecessor Mead and says, as for the testimony of ancient writers, such as Diodorus Siculus, as Mead observes, they confirm that the Germans trace their origin from the Cimmerians. Even to this day, the Jews, as the same scholar notes, call them Ashkenazim or Ashkenaz, as descendants from this branch of Gomer. Indeed, they bear quite a few traits of their origin, in both names, Cimbri, and also in their common name, Germans, or as they call themselves, German, which is a slight difference from Gemrin, or Gomrin, and the latter is easily derived from Gomerin. The ending N is the plural in German, and from the singular Gomer, the plural Gemrin arose, by the same analogy as from brother comes brethren. Wells also adds Appian's testimony that the Celts or Gauls were called differently, namely, Cimbri. They were defeated by Gaius Marius. Cicero says that Marius defeated a Gallic force that had invaded Italy. Their king was called Belias. Belios Kimbros was inscribed on his shield found in Aix-en-Provence, where Marius defeated them. The inscription was in an unknown script. Plutarch says that the Cimbri were also called Gallo-Scythians, 31st century, page 55. This strange script on Belos' shield was Old Esarbitsa. Numerous inscriptions in this unknown script have been found in Old Rodania. Even the name of this king of Kimbrans, Belios, is Serbian, Bello, white. Now, we have one more question to clarify regarding the relationship between the meaning of the name Phrygia and the Greek word Phrygian, which means to roast or burn. Some thought that Phrygia could have gotten its name from the Greek word for roasting because there was a tradition among the Greeks that Hercules burned a part of Phrygia. Indeed, the Greeks called a certain part of Phrygia burnt Phrygia, and they used the term kekaumene for that part, but it did not refer to the entire region. If we were to accept the viewpoint of those seeking the origin of the name Phrygia in the Greek language, it would imply that the Greeks referred to this land as roasted burnt, which is nonsensical. Moreover, in the Greek language, there are 15 words with the root phrug, and they have very different meanings. Thucydides mentions a place called Phrygia in Attica, 2.22. So can we conclude from that Hercules also burned Attica? Was this place in Attica also roasted? A special chapter consists of Bosher's explanation of the meaning of the Hebrew word Gomer. He says that Gamar in Hebrew means to burn, and that in the same language, Gumra, or Gumro, signifies charcoal or embers. 2. Ikib. 3. 8. Hence, the opinion emerged that this Hebrew burn should be connected with the Greek to roast, and all of it with the name Phrygia. It should be noted that at the time when Boshar wrote his work, cuneiform inscriptions in Mesopotamia had not yet been discovered, nor was there knowledge about them. Boshar's explanation of the meaning of these words in the Hebrew language was a great surprise for me, as both of these words with the same meaning are also present in the Serbian language. This cannot be considered a random coincidence since Serbian and Hebrew are two distinct languages. Garstang claims that the Mushki, led by Meda, were the first Phrygians from Thrace to conquer the Hittite Empire. 93rd, ch. 11. Their name is read in Assyrian records as Muski. Campbell says that the Brygians are European Phrygians, descendants of Zeretida from the Old Testament. 104. p. Saint 279. Gruz believes that the Russian steppes north of the Black Sea were settled, perhaps from around 1200 BCE, by an Indo-European people called the Cimmerians. They were considered Thracian Phrygian and likely came from the area of modern Hungary and Romania, and it is even more probable that they inhabited these lands. 143rd, ch. 32, Rogozin, regarding the Aryan language, says, Phrygia, Mysia, and others in the west and northwest of Asia Minor show evidence of leaning towards a very ancient type of Aryan philology, Pelasgian, from which the Greek language originated. One Cimmerian leader, who captured the city of Sardis in Asia Minor, is mentioned in Greek as Lygdamus. However, this name is also mentioned in Caria. Pomponius Mela mentions the tribe, Gomers, in the land of the Saka, neighbors of the Massagetæ, which can be related to the Cimmerians. The same tribe is mentioned by Pliny and placed between India and Persia. Josephus Flavius says that Homer is the ancestor of the people called Gomers by the Greeks, whom they name Galatians. It is evident that Melas and Pliny's Gomers should be connected with Flavius's Gomers, referring to the same people.